school is right down the block?
Yes, it is.
Mommy, can we go to the park anytime we want?
Anytime we want.
So you can imagine trying to answer all their questions after the landlord turned us down.
What happened? Why can't we live there?
Why not, Papa?
What was I going to say? The landlord doesn't want families with kids in his building? We made a call to HUD and found out that being denied because we have kids is illegal. We got answers. We got help.
And we got the apartment.
If you think you've been discriminated against because of your familial status, race, color, religion, national origin, sex, or disability, call the HUD hotline, 1-800-669-9777, or go to hud.gov/fairhousing. File a complaint. Make something happen.
Fair housing is your right. Use it.
A public service message from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Hey, my friend's retail store was the victim of IoT password theft.
Yep. Cybercriminals are taking over security cameras, payment systems, and other IoT devices by exploiting vulnerabilities.
What if they target us and our dispersed network?
We're secured with Barracuda. We have advanced firewalls for our sites, enhanced security for our cloud infrastructure, and total email protection.
Such a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
ESPN Pensacola has you covered from the national and local levels. From Golick and Wingo to the Sports Drive, the Paul Feinbaum Show to Talk Football with Coach K, we have it all. It's the latest and best in sports talk radio, making us Pensacola's hometown sports network. ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on HD Radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming online at our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
Looking to build a deck? Think Trex is out of your price range? Well, now you should take a second look at the #1 name in outdoor living, because the latest decking from Trex is engineered for the DIYer and priced to put the pressure on treated lumber. Plus, it comes with a 25-year fade and stain warranty, and that's something wood can't promise. So if you want to bring the superior performance and durability of Trex to your backyard, visit Trex.com for deck plans and to order samples.
Tell your fan friends that you've switched to Pensacola's new ESPN, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. It's where you hear Chad Berlante's Sports Drive at 5, Coach K, and Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen. Plus all of your ESPN national faves like Golick and Wingo and Paul Feinbaum. And if you'd like to be an ESPN sponsor or one of our promotional partners, just give us a call at 262-6000, 262-6000.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. I am Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And on this Tuesday, we're going to be taking a look at some things. And Coach, today is actually one of those days inside the NFL that maybe you don't necessarily talk about, and it's not a hot button issue, but starting today at 3 o'clock this afternoon, teams will be able to sign unrestricted free agents without hurting their standard in the league's compensatory pick formula for 2020. So, Coach, you take a look at this, and there's some big names that are out there that are available still for free agency. Take a look at some of these names, and obviously starting at 3 o'clock is when they are able to do this. Coach, you take a look at some of these names: Ndamukong Suh, Alan Bailey. You've got Mo Claiborne. You've got Pierre Garçon, Brock Osweiler, Jay Ajayi, the former Miami Dolphin and Philadelphia Eagle running back, Benny Logan, Jordan Mills. Coach, you've got a lot of players here that you expect their names are going to be linked to several different teams once that gets started this afternoon, 3 o'clock.
Well, I think you're right, Jordan, but I think, too, you got to look at this point, really look at how it affects your locker room. Now, there's some reason Ndamukong Suh couldn't stay with the Rams, They couldn't find some way to bridge. I know he had another contract coming up, but they should have found some way to bridge that contract. They didn't. And if they wanted him back, why don't they sign him back now? So that's just an example. Jay, I think, banged up a little, wasn't he, last year? So, there are going to be some nicks and flags on all of them. But, yeah, you're going to see some of those people signed to NFL teams. And if for nothing else, it's depth in camp, to bring them to camp for depth in case you get some injuries, or to prevent some of your people maybe from getting injuries. I know that sounds bad, but sometimes you do that. Say, hey, we got these fine young receivers. We don't want to run them to death. So let's bring in so-and-so and can give our quarterback good work, and we don't run our people to death.
I'd say that's a great point, Coach. All right, Coach, let's take a look at some of these other stories, staying inside the NFL, and we'll take a look at some of these stories because it's 3 stories that are kind of flying under the radar. Not a lot of people are talking about. Coach, the first one for the NFL is Cam Newton still not throwing, obviously still trying to kind of recover and get healthy from that shoulder surgery, the shoulder injury that he had. But, Coach, still not throwing at this point in time. Is this anything that Panther fans and maybe people in the Panthers front office should be worried about? Or is this something that, it's just kind of on par for this? Let him rest, let him take his time. When he's ready to come back, he'll come back.
Well, I think you've got to take your time, number one, okay? But should people be worried about it? Yes, because that could very easily linger on and on and on. The shoulder injury for a quarterback is a devastating injury. So, I would be concerned about it, very concerned. But he does need to take his time. That's the only hope he's got, is to take plenty of time and don't rush it.
All right, Coach, moving on to our next one. We've got Dak Prescott. Still has not signed a deal with the Cowboys. Still have not been able to agree on anything. Again, Coach, it's early talking about the Cam Newton situation. It's early for that. It's really early for the whole contract talk. But still, Coach, should the Cowboys start feeling a little nervous that they still have not been able to at least come to some kind of agreement or understanding on a possible deal with Dak Prescott?
Well, no, to be honest with you. I think they're going to have to force a hand here. Where is Dak Prescott going to go? Where would he be right now were it not for the Cowboys and Romo getting dinged up and him playing? I don't know if he would have made the football team. Romo may still be the quarterback, and he may be on the street. I don't know. So he's had a great opportunity there, so he needs to consider that. In the contract negotiation. But they need to sign him. They obviously want to sign him. I think it's good, but it's going to have to be at the right price. They're not going to give him contracts that would compete with some of the better quarterbacks. They're just not going to do it, nor should they. So you got to keep that in mind, and both are going to have to give on it.
All right, Coach, how about our final story that's flying under the radar inside the NFL this offseason? Le'Veon Bell, obviously the whole situation with him with the Steelers last year, ends up becoming a free agent, signing with the New York Jets. And, Coach, you look at him, he's actually worked out a thing to where it doesn't really have to be a part of OTAs or team workouts. He's going to be doing that stuff from home. He's basically going to be kind of doing his own training himself rather than working out and training with the team. Coach, is this something that, It's something I've never heard of a guy doing. I know there was a situation when Terrell Owens was suspended. He worked out on his own, and he trained on his own at different facilities and whatnot. But, Coach, this guy's a part of a team, and it looks like he's going to be training and working out on his own rather than with the team. So, Coach, I'm not really sure what to make of this situation with Le'Veon Bell with the New York Jets. You could make the case that this is a critical year and it's an unfamiliar staff, an unfamiliar team, and that may be why he wants to do it, kind of have a little bit level of comfort. But, Coach, you're an NFL player. You need to be training and participating with your NFL team, in my book.
Yeah, I know what to make of it. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And the most amazing thing is that they're going to allow him to do it. I wouldn't allow him to do it, even if I had to put him on the street. I'd put him on the street tomorrow before I would do that. That's crazy. They just went a long way toward losing some players on the football team, and don't think they're not going to keep it in mind when certain things come up with them and how Le'Veon Bell has been treated. So they have done some irreparable damage, in my opinion, to their football team by treating this guy this way. And this is another flag on him. And if anything, this year, not being familiar with them, being new, other people being new, him being new to other people, he should be in camp. Of all times, for a guy to be in camp, it should be there anyway. But this is a terrible exception. I can't get over it.
And Coach, you take a look at this, and you want to talk about Le'Veon Bell and his time at Pittsburgh. One of the big things that was talked about his time in Pittsburgh was the fact that Ben Roethlisberger got peripheral treatment from the GM, from the front office, from the coaching staff, that he was able to stay late past curfew. He didn't have to really answer to the same rules that other players did. Coach is creating the same situation with the New York Jets.
Well, it looks like that's what he wanted, and he couldn't get it at Pittsburgh, so now he's going to go to the Jets and demand to be the big dog, and his perception is what the big dog gets. What he doesn't understand is the big dog conducts himself like the Bradys and the Mannings and the other people who are true leaders of football teams, like a Walter Payton did, and many others. Those are the big dogs. He's acting like the little puppy, needs to be kicked out.
All right, Coach, let's switch gears now to the XFL, because Sports Illustrated has this article. And again, I know I recommended the Mike Mayock read we had yesterday on the show. I definitely recommend this one. It's by Dan Green. It's on the XFL. It's titled "The XFL, a Second Chance League," and it's not my first rodeo for the commissioner. Obviously talking about Oliver Luck there, a guy we've had on the show here on Talk Football. Coach, you take a look at this article, and it basically just kind of preferences and talks about how the XFL, when they first tried it, it was a little bit of as I'm using their phrase, a freak show, and was kind of a circus on a football field. And Coach, you look at it this way, seems to be completely different now. They're going to do some things that are very interesting and innovative for the game of football, with their overtime rules of basically having opposing offenses and defenses on each side of the field for overtime. This side will run a play, then that side will run a play, almost kind of like what you see with hockey, where they'll take one shot, then the other team will take a shot. But Coach, you look at the XFL, I'm going to ask you, why do you think, and you may not feel this way, you may feel that it's not going to last, but Coach, why do you think this version of the XFL will have better success and last longer than the previous version did?
Well, the previous version was, you have to keep in mind now, the owner, or the big money guy, made millions and millions of dollars with this WWE. It's a fake show. Basically, they just put on a show. You got the bad guy, you got the villain, and the good guy, and all the other things that go with it. And people bought that, and he made millions. He thought that you could change that format for doing wrestling and take the same principle over to football. What he didn't realize is that football is the greatest game in the world. And certainly in this country, it has been accepted as is. And if you try to jimmy with the rules of the game itself, you were committing suicide. And that's what they did. His blueprint for wrestling did not work at all in football. I think he realized that, and now he's back I think the changes that you're talking about there don't change the basic concept of football at all. They just, like the overtime rule, I don't know whether that's going to be great or not, but, that's not a change like he had going with the XFL. And some of the names that they put on people and all the other stupid stuff they did. But anyway, I think it's more of an attempt to play football as we all know, and even he knows people love it that way. You can't change it, so he's making an attempt to come back with a few little marks here or there that would give him some distinction. So he's got a chance to make it with under that approach.
All right, Coach, let's move now to some college football here because an interesting story on ESPN's college football page. As you take a look at it, it deals with President Donald Trump, and he came out. Obviously, he was presenting the Commander-in-Chief trophy to the U.S. Military Academy yesterday. The Army Knights, they went 11-2 on the year, and they were getting the President or the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. And part of that celebration there at the Rose Garden, he actually was talking about it, and he said that he would possibly look into changing something to where players at military academies could actually go into the NFL right away and not necessarily forego their time in the military, but go play in the NFL, go play in a professional league, and then be able to serve their time in the military after they're done playing football. Coach, this is something that, again, this is just something he said yesterday, and it's something he's interested in doing. This is not anything that's started moving forward with it. As a matter of fact, his Defense Secretary, Jim Mattis, back in April of 2017, actually said that the service academies exist to develop future officers, and basically went on to say that members of military academies should leave there, go into the military, and not have the opportunity to go play pro football. But, Coach, I want to throw it to you. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think this would be a good idea to allow players at a military academy to go into the NFL right away as soon as they're done at the military academy?
Well, in the first place, there are not going to be that many. Okay, you're only going to be talking about one every now and then. I'm not so sure it's not it's a bad idea or a good idea. It's the only thing that I would say is that if they go into the NFL, there's a good chance that they're going to, when they get out of the NFL, they're going to have some type of injury that would preclude them being in the service at that point. So you could lose a person or persons, plural, to injury in the NFL. And I think that's what they have to be aware of.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, more Talk Football with Coach K coming up next right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Pick or bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees, like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet. Still just $20.
It's time for some straight talk. Picture this. Your favorite team is playing. You're streaming the game. 10 seconds left. Your team shoots. Oops, your data runs out.
Look, don't let that happen. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get 25 gigs of high-speed data, all on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Join Team Straight Talk and get unlimited talk and text plus 25 gigs of high-speed data for just $45 a month.
Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart.
First 25 gigs at high speed, then 2G. See terms at straighttalk.com.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WICT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. You can also call into our studio line, 850-972-1945, 850-972-1945. Coach, there's something interesting having to do with Kansas's athletic director, Jeff Long. It's their brand new athletic director. He's come in and, look, he's trying to turn this program around, get it moving back on the right track. He's brought Les Miles in as the head coach. But, Coach, he needs new players. He needs better players. Obviously, that's going to be a step that Kansas has to take. But right now they are in a recruiting hole and just don't have the number of scholarships that they could give out to help kind of get the team back going quicker. So he kind of went to the other athletics at a meeting and in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he proposed tweaking the recruiting rules to allow a team in a scholarship hole to climb out and get competitive more quickly. Basically, the way they would do this is they could take a signee from high school, junior college transfer, or transfer from another four-year college, and basically it's rearranging and countering scholarships with different players. And say you had a one player on scholarship, but you'd rather have this player on scholarship, but you can't give him a scholarship because you just don't have any more to give. You take that scholarship, give it to the player that you do want. And, Coach, it's this long, difficult process that Jeff Long is discussing here. And, Coach, basically the whole motive behind this is to help a team that's in the situation like Kansas to get out of the slip and the slunk and the funk that they're in. But, Coach, on the flip side of that, if the Big 12 was able to do this, there is no rule that if they decided to change and tweak these recruiting rules, there's nothing that would change or prevent a team like Oklahoma or Texas or a team that's up there towards the top of the conference to participate and do this as well. And that would basically allow them to stockpile the best players. And, Coach, I'm not seeing how the proposal by Jeff Long would help Kansas in the long run because, again, the Big 12 changed this. Oklahoma would be able to do it. Texas would be able to do it. So those good players that Kansas would want would end up just going to Texas and Oklahoma.
Well, good luck on that, even having a chance to pass anybody's rules committee. Not going to happen. And it's not fair to the people that they give a scholarship to boot. So just no reason to even comment on it. That's not going to happen.
All right, Coach, let's move now to the NFL. Jason Pierre-Paul, we talked about it last week. He was released from the hospital and had the car accident by himself. I think it was Thursday morning last week, Wednesday or Thursday morning of last week, had that car accident. It was a single car accident. Nobody else was injured. He went to the hospital to be checked out, was released later on that morning. Seemed like everything was fine, but, Coach, now we learn Jason Pierre-Paul has a fractured neck and could miss the entire 2019 season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's a terrible situation for him personally, and it's a hit for Tampa Bay. I'm sure they were counting on him to give them some type pass rush in pass down situations. So that's a big lick to have to overcome. And if he does have any type of fracture in the neck area, you got to be very, very careful. that it doesn't create lingering nerve damage that they may not even know about right now.
All right, Coach. Now let's take a look at this interesting story here involving Joe Namath. Joe Namath basically is come out and he's talked a little bit about his issues he had, and especially with drinking and things along those lines. And Coach, he came out and he talked about this, and it's interesting. And I think one of the most interesting parts of this article is he's talking about that interview he had in 2003 on the sideline with Susie Colbert at ESPN, and if you're a sports fan, you know what happened in that interview. He tried to make an advance on her, didn't necessarily work out. He looks back on that and says he saw it as a blessing in disguise for himself, because it really kind of allowed him to see how embarrassing he had become to his friends and his family. And he said he couldn't escape that feeling, and he hasn't had a drink since that day. It also has affected a marriage. Obviously, he went through a divorce in 2000 from partially because of the drinking issue as well. And Coach, this is just a great read on a guy like Joe Namath, where he's coming out and he's talking about the demons that he's had to face in his life. And again, this is another article I would encourage our listeners to go and read, because it is really a fantastic read. But Coach, that 2003 interview with Susie Colbert on the sideline during a Monday Night Football game is the moment in Joe Namath's life that had him drop the bottle, drop the alcohol altogether. So, Coach, this is just a phenomenal read here, and it's good to see him get his life back on track.
Yeah, it is. In fact, what a tremendous, exciting life Joe Namath had. It was just amazing. When I was coaching with the Rams, he was our quarterback, and some of the stories I could tell you about his popularity when everything started before the season, and during the start of the season, you couldn't, if he went to a restaurant, you probably couldn't get in, because people stayed. They didn't leave. They stayed there to hopefully get an autograph. And he was just, it was Anne Margaret, Raquel Welch, and all the others. He's just, then he had it, his New York days and so on. Joe had a very, very unusual life.
Yeah.
And he reaped all the benefits, you might say, and certainly had trouble controlling certain things in his life. And he has turned it around, I understand from very good sources that he has. I know he had lost the loss of his daughter too, when his wife and his daughter. But he's the great father now and doing a good job. And I'm so glad to see it, and glad to see him turning it around. Plus, people don't realize, even after football, he had a chance in broadcasting. He was on Monday Night Football,
right, for
a while, and game day football, and had some trouble there. Couldn't hold those positions. So it's been a turbulent ride. There's no doubt about that. Ups and downs, but I'm glad to see he's turned it around, and hopefully it stays that way.
And again, if any of our listeners want to go check this article out, you can actually find it on ESPN.com/NFL. It's right there in that little side square menu. I believe it's about the third or fourth story down. Coach, we've got some more games coming out for college football, and this is a nice one, because these two teams have only met once. But the one time that they did meet, it was an epic game, and it happened just a couple of years ago for a spot in the national title game in the Rose Bowl. Talking about Georgia and Oklahoma. Coach, Georgia obviously wins that Rose Bowl game 54-48, goes on to lose to Alabama in the national title game. But, Coach, it looks like in 2023-2031, Oklahoma and Georgia will be playing a home-and-home series. So, looks like on September 9th, 2023, Oklahoma will host the Bulldogs. And then on September 13th, 2031, Georgia will host Oklahoma. So, Coach, we're starting to see more and more games of this nature. And as a matter of fact, earlier today, Scott Strickland, the athletic director for Florida, said there are 2 home-and-home series that Florida is getting ready to announce. They're just waiting on some final signatures. They have not released the names of them, but they are big Power 5 conference teams. You got to think that with the talk that's happening around Florida, Coach, one of them is actually the Texas Longhorns for a home-and-home series. Not quite sure who the other one could be, but again, Scott Strickland said that expect those signatures in the announcement at some point towards the end of this week. And, Coach, this is great for college football to have these matchups, to have Oklahoma, Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, if it happens, Florida and Texas. That's great matchups that people want to see, fans want to see, and it gets us away from Georgia beating teams like San Jose State 62-5 or 62-10 or something along those lines. Coach, it gets away from that, and it gives more entertaining, more fun games throughout the season that fans are really going to enjoy.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I really am. I'm glad to hear it. Long time between 2023 and 2031.
Yeah.
But it is a home and home. So that'll be good. Oklahoma, Georgia. I'd like to see more of these. I'm sure we will. We'll see more big colleges matching up with each other, certainly in preseason. That gives you, if you win that game, it gives you a bump going into the rest of the year, and it gives you a bump in the at the end of the year in the playoff picture.
Now, Coach, it does look like, and again, Clemson will be playing a couple of other one of these, and then they'll be a part of one with Georgia. We've also got UCLA, Florida State, and Texas have also kind of announced some big home-and-home series. And we'll go back to the Florida one, Coach, because that's a program you know very well because you played in as part of that program. Coach, if you could envision a Power 5 non-SEC school for Florida to have home-and-home series with, who would you envision it with? Obviously, there's been rumors about Texas, and I think that would be a good fit. I think that would be a great matchup to watch. But, Coach, who would you see as the best two candidates as non-SEC Power 5 teams that Florida could match up with?
Well, I'd always like to see an intersectional battle, okay? I'd like to see Notre Dame go to Florida Field and Florida go to Notre Dame. That would be a good one, an interesting one, I think. I don't necessarily think that going across the country would be all that great a thing, but certainly a Florida, Oklahoma, or an Ohio State. You know, there is some tradition there between Florida and Ohio State. It's a crossover tradition, but playing each other in games that meant national championships and so on. So Ohio State, if you had to pick two right now, I'd say Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Yeah, Coach, and that Ohio State one definitely very interesting because you go back the 2006 national title, Florida beat Ohio State for the national title. Then you go to the Tax Slayer Bowl a few years later. I believe that was Will Muschamp's first season as head coach at Florida. They played again there. It was Will Muschamp against Luke Fickell, and Will Muschamp gets it done in that game as well. So it's an interesting crossover and an interesting back and forth there in the history between Florida and Ohio State. I would like to see that one as well. Coach, what do you think about a team that's maybe a little closer to Gainesville? How do you feel maybe about, what would you think of Clemson, Florida, maybe matching up in a home-and-home series? Do you think we could possibly see something like that happen?
I'm not sure Florida wants to jump into that one.
Right.
Not that Ohio State and Notre Dame are easy games. That's not what I meant. It's just that I think intersectional maybe helps as well because it keeps you out of clears a little bit the competition in recruiting. You don't want to help a team in your area that's anywhere in your area that recruits into your state. You don't want to give them any more credibility by playing them. And then certainly if they win, that gives Clemson even more of a reason to recruit into Florida. So I don't see that as being, not that the same wouldn't be true with Ohio State and Notre Dame, but there's a distance difference that would make it easier for Florida to keep people at home than it would be with Clemson. So that's why I would kind of keep them away from home. Intersectional would mean more as far as comparison with other major conferences and so on. So I'd be a little careful with Clemson.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll take another timeout. When we come back, more Talk Football with Coach K coming up next. ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Car guys know not all motor oils are created equal, because when your engine hits 75,000 miles, cheaper motor oils won't do. That's why Valvoline created full synthetic high mileage with Max Life technology, designed to fight sludge, condition seals, and better protect critical engine components as your engine ages. Keep your high mileage ride driving well into the future. Valvoline, trusted for 150 years. Now at Advanced Auto Parts, buy 5 quarts of Valvoline full synthetic high mileage and a filter for just $33.99. Terms and conditions may apply.
The countdown to Mother's Day is quickly ticking away, and if you haven't already picked out the perfect 1-800-Flowers bouquet for Mom, you have to act fast. Beat the Mother's Day rush by visiting 1-800-Flowers.com today. Right now, 1-800-Flowers will give you 24 multicolored roses, plus a free vase for only $29.99. Now that's an offer that Mom would approve of. This is an amazing value. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Stephen A. 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WICT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass. Joined along me as always, Coach K. And Coach, diving right back into it now, we're going to stick in the world of college football here. I want to take a look at some of these games, and I know we've still got, about 106 days until the start of the 2019 season when Florida and Miami face off in Orlando on August 24th. But, Coach, I want to take a look at some of these games we've got coming up to start off the year, especially week one. There is one that is taking place at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Auburn and Oregon. This is going to be a great game. The last 2 times these teams faced off, there was a national title on the line, and Cam Newton was the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers, and Gene Chizik was the head coach. So lots of change since then. But I think, Coach, the only thing that's probably the same is the team colors and the fact that Gus Malzahn will be on the sideline for Auburn for this game. But, Coach, you look at this game, and this is going to be a very interesting game, and it's going to be a tough game for Oregon to start off the year.
Yeah, this is interesting. We start talking about this is just the beginning, but we start talking about teams and games that they play and at certain times during the year and all the other factors that come into play. And then keep in mind, as we get near the season, we'll be looking at these things again based on any changes or different look at them. But it's fun to look at the teams and go down their schedule. Now, I think this is huge for Auburn, and it's huge for Oregon. Both teams have an awful lot at stake here. This could be a huge game for Gus Malzahn, his future, as the coach at Auburn. I think if they lose this ball game, they're going to be looking at a very bad year at Auburn overall, and they'll be looking at Gus for sure, especially with him calling the plays. I think for Oregon, here you have the great opportunity for a football team that has been looked at as being a possibility for the national championship, certainly a good possibility to win their conference, and a quarterback that looks to be the top quarterback by many, the top quarterback in the country, and he's looking at Heisman Trophy. So, good gracious, think about what all they've got on the line. If they come into Texas and beat Auburn and look good doing it, especially the quarterback, it's going to be as a jump for him to the Heisman. And for Oregon, should put them in a commanding position out there in their conference. So I just think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for Auburn to win that ball game. I really do. Now, they're going to be good defensively. There's no doubt about that. But if you've got a real good quarterback and you've got at least two people, a runner and a receiver, who can make things happen, look out. Oregon will put points on the board against that good defense. Now, can Auburn respond? And that's going to be the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. I think there's a good opportunity. We'll visit this game again, obviously, before they play it, maybe a couple of times. But I think right now, just looking at it on the outside, Oregon looks very good to me.
Now, Coach, you take a look at this game, and if Auburn is to lose this game, if they were to lose this game to Oregon to start off the year, Coach, you take a look at it. Is this a situation where the hot seat for Gene Chizik is going to start right away, or is this a situation where fans and the athletic director and the front office people at Auburn are going to go, you know what, we lost to a very good football team that's expected to be as part of the national title conversation at the end of the year, so let's kind of see how we rebound from this and move forward. So, Coach, depending on, let's say Auburn does lose this, is Gus Malzahn on the hot seat immediately, or does it get a little hotter immediately, or does he kind of get a little bit of a pass because it is Oregon, a team that's expected to be top 10, top 15?
No, he's on the hot seat immediately. If you remember last year, he was on the hot seat to some extent last year.
Right.
Now, human nature is going to have you look at that schedule. Now, he just lost, if he loses to Oregon, he's still got to play Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia. Hey, he's going to lose some more ball games. Could lose quite a few in there. So there's some people that got to be looking at. Well, we better get the truck ready to back up. And start looking somewhere else for coach and what we're going to do here, because this play is over.
And you take a look at their schedule. Texas A&M, Florida, and LSU, all road games for them. Georgia and Alabama are going to happen on the Plains, but still, that's two teams that it doesn't matter where they're playing. Those are two really good football teams and really well-coached football teams. And also, you got to look at that September 28th game in Auburn against Mississippi State. That's always a tough game for the Tigers whenever the Bulldogs and Auburn face off. All right, Coach, another game we have opening weekend. It's not really as big of a profile game as Auburn and Oregon, but it's still interesting because you look at South Carolina, North Carolina. You've got Will Muschamp going into this season. Could possibly, if they're a 6-6 or worse team, could possibly be on that hot seat like Gene Chizik. Then on the other side, you've got Mack Brown returning to North Carolina. And, Coach, not really sure what we're going to see from North Carolina year one with Mack Brown. But, Coach, that definitely is a interesting matchup that's going to happen there at AT&T Stadium in Charlotte.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big game for Muschamp, for sure. And it's a big game for Brown. But you got to remember, this is his first game back. And Mack Brown. Now, he's going to do a good job, in my opinion, at North Carolina. Whether you can do a good enough job that quickly is very doubtful. I mean, that would be asking almost the impossible for him. He's got a lot of things he's got to straighten up there. They let that program deteriorate, and there were some problems. So he's got a lot to clean up, and he's got to insert a system. He's got to get assistant coaches working well with players. A lot of teaching going on. They've got a lot to do. So South Carolina should have a leg up on that ball game. It'll be like a home game for North Carolina being in Charlotte. But you got to give the edge to South Carolina there. And that's a big win for Muschamp if they go in and win that ball game. Now, keep in mind, North Carolina will get better and better as they go through the year. Muschamp should be glad that they're playing this ball game early.
And, Coach, let's move now to Week 2 because I'm looking at Week 2, and I absolutely love this slate. Taking a look at these SEC games here for the upcoming college football season. Coach, we get it started. There's several games in Week 2 that are just absolutely phenomenal. You've got LSU on the road to Texas. You've got Arkansas and Ole Miss. That's going to be a little bit of an overlooked game because of the other matchups, but still, that's always a great battle when those teams face off. You've got West Virginia and Missouri from Columbia. You've got BYU heading to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Texas A&M heading to Memorial Stadium to take on Clemson, and then Vandy taking on Purdue. So, Coach, a lot of great matchups in Week 2. We'll get it started. LSU on the road at Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, taking on the Texas Longhorns.
Wow, is that a huge game nationally? Now, keep in mind, there are some people that think Texas, without question, will be in the national championship playoff picture, which means that they've got them picked to win that division that they're in, win that conference, and get into the playoffs. That's going to be at Texas.
It is going to be at Texas.
It's huge for Texas. It is big for LSU. Now, you look at LSU's schedule and what they've got the rest of the year. They've got Alabama. They've got Texas A&M. They've got Florida, which is not going to be a pushover. And they've got a pretty tough schedule themselves. So I look at this game as being a huge, almost a must game for Texas, and pretty much that way for LSU. If LSU loses to Texas, that's going to put Coach O in a very precarious situation out in Baton Rouge, and he's going to have to beat somebody like Alabama or Alabama and Texas A&M. Well, he's going to have to do a heck of a job if he loses that ball game. So you're right, that is going to be huge.
All right, Coach, let's move on now to another Week 2 matchup. Again, we talked about the Arkansas-Ole Miss game. That's going to be a great SEC battle, but still, Coach, does not hold a candle to the next national implication game we have involving an SEC team. Texas A&M going on the road to South Carolina to take on the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, Texas A&M at Clemson. You know, you almost if you were getting ready to go into the season, that would be a game that you would almost pick out of the hat to be one of the 10 opening day games. I think it's an outstanding opportunity for Texas A&M, and it's going to be a challenge for Clemson. They're not going to push over Texas A&M. They're not going to run over them. And I think for Texas A&M, if this will show us something quickly on Texas A&M. I'm real interested to see that football game. I think that's going to be a heck of a winner.
All right, Coach, does a game like West Virginia, Missouri, has it lost its luster? Because obviously no Drew Lock for Missouri, no Will Grier for West Virginia, no Dana Holgorsen for West Virginia as well, as he's now back with the Houston Cougars. Coach, has this game that once kind of looked like a great matchup, has it kind of lost its luster a little bit?
It has. It's lost its some. Now for the people at West Virginia, and any school that's involved in it, their students and their alumni are going to be fired up for it. I think Missouri, it's at Missouri, right?
It is.
This could be a huge win for Missouri to get off to a good start. They need it badly. And just not sure what they're looking at without their quarterback. That meant a lot to them the last few years, and they haven't been a good football team he's carried their football. What they've done has been pretty much on his shoulders. So doesn't look real good for him, but it has lost the luster, no doubt about it.
All right, Coach, let's move now to Week 3. Not a lot of great marquee matchups like we have in Week 1 and Week 2, but, Coach, you do have a game that's taking place in Lexington that is going to draw a lot of national attention, especially if Kentucky is off to the start that they were last year. Florida continues to build and continues to grow from their win over Michigan in the Peach Bowl. You got to think this could be a top 15 matchup with one team in the top 10, one team in the top 15. Coach, it's Florida, it's Kentucky. Florida trying to avenge that loss from this past season, and that's something I've never had to say involving this game in my entire lifetime, but Kentucky finally was able to win one, and Coach, Florida's going to be going into Lexington. You got to think Dan Mullen's going to have that team playing with a chip on their shoulder when they head into this game.
Well, I think they will, but I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. They better be careful, especially in Lexington. Now, Kentucky's going to play with a lot of confidence, momentum, and they're at home. My goodness, all the advantages right there go to Kentucky. But you're right. I mean, Florida will be fired up. They'll be playing for revenge. But that's going to be a big ball game.
All right, Coach, how about when the Crimson Tide head to William Bryce Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks? Coach, I'm not going to ask if there's any chance South Carolina wins this game, but is there any chance you look at a guy like Jake Bentley at the quarterback position for South Carolina? Is there any chance they can keep it close and actually look impressive and come away from this game with some people looking at them going, you know what, that's a better team than what we thought?
Well, I certainly think that's a possibility, and I think Bentley should be able to prove himself there and in a game like that. It's going to be very, very difficult for South Carolina to beat Alabama, but I think they'll play them tough, especially at home, and could end up being a pretty good ball game.
All right, Coach, let's take a look at Week 4 here. We've got some interesting Week 4 matchups. Tennessee is going to be heading to Gainesville. We've also got South Carolina heading to Missouri. But, Coach, I think the one that everybody's going to have highlighted looking at Auburn on the road taking on Texas A&M outside of that Oregon game. This is that next tough game for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, and Auburn's going to have some do or die in Texas, aren't they? Opening ball game and then Texas A&M. But this is going to be a very difficult game for Auburn. And a lot is going to depend on how they do in the Oregon game, I think. If they beat Oregon and they come out healthy and they play well in the next two ball games leading up to that, they're going to have a much better chance than if they lose to Oregon. I tell you, if they lose to Oregon, then having to go back out there to Texas to play, I think it's going to be a downer for them. But anyway, it's a big ball game, no question about it.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll be wrapping things up right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. We're also streaming live on YouTube as well as Facebook Live. Just head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/ESPN Pensacola 94.5. And hey, if you want to be a part of the show, call into our studio line, 850-972-1945. Again, it's 850-972-1945.
Don't forget our podcast, too.
That's right. We do have a podcast. You can actually go find it over at Pippa, PIPPA.io. And if you're going to use the Internet Explorer, you're going to have a little bit of an issue finding that. So make sure you're either using Firefox or Google Chrome, and that will be your best bet to go and find that. And you can go find it. The podcast is called Talk Football as well, so you can go find that. If you missed yesterday's interview with Bill Polian, that is on there. It is posted, so you can go check that out and be a part of it. And again, if you want to be a part of the show, 850-972-1945. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And Coach, as we do at this point in every show, we want to say thank you to our wonderful sponsors who you hear from during the breaks on the show, obviously those being Bob Tyler Toyota, Hill Kelly Dodge, Levin Papantonio Law Firm, the list just goes on and on. Tom Thumb, Beef O'Brady's, Damien's Ice Cream, Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, and a couple of them even have a couple of great deals for our listeners to take advantage of as well.
Yeah, in case you haven't heard, you've forgotten about it, Damien'sIceCream.com. Damien'sIceCream.com, and they're an ice cream wholesaler, but they will now sell to the public wholesale prices at wholesale prices. And if you say that you heard about them on the show, they'll deduct another 15%. Huge advantage. All types of ice cream, any ice cream you can think of, and also at the indoor shooting range. If you go out there and tell them you heard about it on the show, you can shoot at half price at the indoor shooting range. Women, they'll shoot on Tuesday at half price, and they'll deduct it another half of that. So you'll shoot at a quarter of the price on Tuesdays for the women.
And I think that actually ends up being like around $5 if I'm not mistaken. So that's a really good deal to go use their indoor shooting range. And that's one of the best here in Pensacola. All right, Coach, let's take a look at some of the recaps from today's show. Coach, Oklahoma and Georgia have announced that they will play a home-and-home series getting started in 2023, and they'll also play again in 2031. Coach, this is not the last of these we will hear. As again, Scott Strickland, the athletic director for the University of Florida, teased that there will be an announcement later on this week involving Florida and a couple of other teams that they'll announce home-and-home series with as well. So, Coach, college football starting move more towards these type of games than the quote-unquote cupcake or tomato can games.
Yeah, and I think most people are glad to see that, Jordan. I'm certain of it. So that's good. It's a good sign. Good omen.
All right, Coach. President Trump next announced yesterday in the Commander-in-Chief Trophy presentation at the Rose Garden there at the White House that he is actually interested in allowing military academy athletes to serve their time after they play professional sports, meaning that if you have a player that's an extraordinary football player at, let's say, Air Force Academy, then Coach, once he's done at the Air Force Academy, he can actually go and play inside the NFL.
Well, there wouldn't be that many. That's the good side that from the standpoint of any negativity. But the negativity is that if they go play any time at all in the NFL, there's a good chance they may have some type of injury that could be long-lasting, and military would certainly hinder their military performance.
All right, Coach. In Kansas, new athletic director Jeff Long has proposed an interesting new take on recruiting to help teams such as Kansas kind of climb out of the slump that they're in when it comes to recruiting and help their team improve and get better quickly, or more quicker than they normally could by the old rules. So, Coach, taking a look at this, basically what he's wanting to do is if you have players on scholarship but you don't have any scholarships left, there's a player out there that you want to sign or offer a scholarship to, you pull a scholarship from one player, you give it to that player, and then also allow them to be able to go out and get more players from junior colleges as well as other Power 5 conferences that are on transfer, graduate transfers. And right now, Coach, a team can sign no more than 25. He wants to raise that number up and roll the starting number around 50. So he kind of wants to double that and basically add better players to the roster and make the team better right away and immediately. And, Coach, the problem with this, it sounds great and all for a team like Kansas, but the problem with this is if the Big 12 implements it, it's not just Kansas that can do this. Oklahoma can do this as well. So the good players that Kansas would go after would more than likely end up at a place like Oklahoma or Texas.
Well, that's a non-starter to begin with. I don't think college football in general, the NCAA, would allow that to happen in any shape, form, or fashion.
All right, Coach. And finally on today's show, Joe Namath announced that the 2003 interview he had with Susie Colbert was actually the moment that allowed him to stop drinking when he realized how much he embarrassed his friends and family. And a great article that's on ESPN's NFL page, Coach. I urge all of our listeners to go read it. Just a great story there, and it's great to hear that he's turned things around.
Yeah, it is. I think a lot of Joe. We had Joe when I was with the Rams, and that was right at the end of his career. But he's a good guy. I'm glad to hear that he's turned it around, and he's had some problems. He had some ups and downs, and lived a life that many would have loved to have lived, but certainly wouldn't anticipate the problems being what they are, and they're devastating. So I'm glad to see that he's turned it around, and best of luck to him.
All right, we will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Coach K, I'm Jordan Glass. The Stephen A. Smith Show coming up next.
Tell your fan friends that you've switched to Pensacola's new ESPN. ESPN Pensacola 94.5. It's where you hear Chad Berlante's Sports Drive at 5, Coach K, and Sports Call with Jordan Glass and Davis Allen. Plus all of your ESPN national faves like Gullick and Wingo and Paul Feinbaum. And if you'd like to be an ESPN sponsor or one of our promotional partners, just give us a call at 262-6000. 262-6000.